What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this one, we have the only response to Brits don't have culture. What is that response? Before we jump in and find out, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to smash subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. Also, if you would like to support this channel by becoming a member, all you gotta do is hit that join button and receive your exclusive benefits. Let's dive right in.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Oftentimes in today's society, us Brits, Englishmen, Welsh, Scottish, Northern Ireland, etc., we hear phrases such as Brits don't have any culture. Now, at heart, you know that statement is bloody well incorrect because it's made
Of
by
course.
mentally inferior people that don't
Oh,
have a bloody clue what they're talking about, right? But it might be quite hard because you've been told for so long that Brits genuinely don't have any culture
yeah.
and that there's nothing to be proud of as a white Anglo-Saxon man of England or Great Britain more generally. My point being, in this video we're going to discuss how you can respond to, quite frankly, retarded phrases such as Brits don't have any culture. We're going to be talking about everything Britain has done, well, as much as I can do in a 10-minute long video, everything we stand for, everything Britain has done for the world, and I'm going to teach you how to answer that very silly question and that very silly phrase.
Talk
Let's
to
jump
me.
straight in. So, apologies if I look down, this is where my notes are just in front of me
Okay.
here. So, let's get straight in. Brits and British inventions and mannerisms and the language more generally, English, has been respected, loved, and used by everyone on the planet. Okay? If you
I
drive a
respect
car,
that.
you need to be thankful for British people. If you fly in an aeroplane, you need to be thankful for British people. If you take modern medicine when you're unwell, you need to be thankful for British people.
I got
Okay?
you.
I'm going to give you a list of a million things that the Brits have invented, the amazing Brits that we've had in the past and still have to this very day, and everything you should be proud of as a Brit that makes up your culture more generally.
I
With me?
do all of those things. I've flown in an airplane, I drive a car, and I take modern medicine. So let me just say thank you to my fellow Brits. I appreciate you. I absolutely
We as
appreciate
Brits
you.
and the British people are peak human civilization, whether that be economically, culturally, physically, spiritually, religiously, whatever. The British people are the very top, the creme de la creme of the globe. There is no one that beats Britain at anything in those categories that I've just mentioned. See? That's the main point I use to rebuttal
Economically,
when people say they have no culture. Well, Britain at the top of absolutely every single one of those scales. So that's
out
point number
throughout the
one.
history, I
Point number
thought he
two.
was meaning like today, like today. Britain's still the best at all those things, but just throughout history, Britain has. Okay, and I can absolutely appreciate and understand that.
Two is essentially just a list of things that us Brits have achieved and are responsible for over the course of our history and the
Hmm.
millennia, 2 millennia that Anglo-Saxons have been roaming about this planet. So let's begin. So let's start with the monarchy. Queen Elizabeth II, Henry VIII, Queen Victoria, all of the kings, princes, queens, princesses that have gone on in our 1,000-year reign, they are admired as the peak of cultural luxury of humanity. The way we dined, dressed, set trends across the world, the way we led armadas, the way we led pioneering expeditions, that came from the British royal family. And to this very day, it is something that we are still very proud of. We may be having a dip under Charles's apathy towards certain problems in this country, but nevertheless, British culture stems from its love for the monarchy and respect for the monarchy.
Okay,
So that's one of the amazing things we've done.
okay,
Our
okay.
architecture as a country, the fact we
Oh,
have
architecture is amazing.
periods for our architecture, such as
Facts.
Georgian, Edwardian, Victorian, Tudor houses,
All
we
different
have
kinds of stuff.
architecture that defines certain periods of history. Like, what other country can you
That's a
name
good
that has
point.
that sort of stuff?
That's a
Maybe
good point.
France, maybe Germany. Like, but Brits lead the way in some of the best architecture this world has ever seen. And just think of things like the walkie-talkie. The Brits have built a building that is smaller at the bottom than it is at the top. How advanced you have to be in your architectural and educational
I feel you.
whereabouts to be able to do that. Like, can you? Like, that's just an amazing achievement. It's something to be proud of as part of our British culture.
I
Being
can
such
respect it. I can absolutely respect it. Keep the list going. I mean, throughout history, you do have to appreciate everything that Brits have done. And because they have such a long history, they have such a long history of inventions and innovations, and things that they did that the rest of the world now benefits from. So you do have to be thankful.
the Big Ben, the London Eye, the Tower of London, Tower Bridge, iconic landmarks that people travel from every corner of the globe to come and see. That is what you need to be proud of as a British, as a Brit. Our architecture, what we have built across our great nation and across
Respect,
the world.
respect.
Every single wealthy part of all of our former colonies are built by the British people. All the bit where the wealthy people move to are built by Brits in Kenya, in India, in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Canada, in America. Everything that was built by Brits a couple hundred years ago is where all the wealthy people like to live because it's the best. It was built with the highest standards even at that
San
time. Standards
Francisco,
that even
Los
come from
Angeles
today's standards of people in that country.
was
What the
built by the
was built
Brits.
250 years ago in Kenya is better than what's there now. Like, does that not show that we're culturally superior to everyone on the planet? It does to me. Anyway, I got a bit carried away there. That's the architecture
Maybe a
point.
tad. Maybe a tad.
So, a trifecta here. Our rule of
Okay.
law, our democracy, and our parliament.
Okay.
Three things that we've literally spearheaded the world in.
I do agree. I do
I don't really
agree.
need to discuss much more, but without the Brits, you don't have democracy. Without the Brits, you don't have modern day parliament, modern day rule of law. So that's something that the world needs to thank us Brits
I'll give
for.
that to you. I'll give that to you.
The
And I
Industrial
appreciate
Revolution.
that.
Literally
There you
anything
go.
that's made in a factory, you can thank a Brit for because we founded the Industrial Revolution worldwide. So if it's been made in a factory, what you're wearing, what you're using, what you drive in, thank a Brit for that.
Thank you, Brit, for that.
Brits have founded pretty much every sport in the world that people enjoy. I'm talking about football, rugby, cricket, tennis, golf, horse racing, darts, badminton, snooker, curling, netball, bobsleigh, boxing, hockey, croquet, bowls, squash, table tennis, water polo. I can go on all day. All of these sports are
We'll take basketball. Basketball was invented in America. It was made Dr. Naismith. Basketball was made in America. Thank you, Lord. And then American football, of course. But dang, I think that's all the sports that America may have come up with. If there's more, I'll have to look that up. But geez, the Brits came up with all the other sports. God dang.
loved and played worldwide were founded and created by a Brit. This is part of our culture. This is what we need to be proud of. All of these things are so amazing. This has all stemmed from a Brit. If someone loves football, they can thank a Brit for that. If someone plays rugby, you can thank a Brit for that. All of our former colonies, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, India, all of these countries that play cricket and absolutely love it came from us because we brought it to them. Because we are a generous culture.
Because we're a
Stemmed
generous culture.
thousands of years. Okay, that is British culture, our sports, and what we've given to the world in that sense. Right, I've now got a list of a dozen things or so that we Brits have created. And these are
Talk
just
to
a
me.
tiny handful of the things that we've created.
Talk to
but
me.
arguably the most recognisable, most famous, and most used worldwide. So
Okay, I got you.
let's dive right in.
Let's
So,
do it.
the computer, the World Wide Web, the aeroplane, the telephone, cars, roads, tyres, telephones, television, cameras, submarines, telescopes, modern day farming, the light bulb, lawnmowers, trains, and modern medicine. All of
God
those things
dang,
were created by
really?
Brits. So if you use any of those on a fairly regular basis and you are talking down towards British culture, then I think you need to shut your mouth and do some reading and have some
Like you
appreciation
need to
towards what
shut
the
your
Brits
mouth and do
have
some
given you over a
reading.
period of time. So those are just a handful of amazing inventions that Brits.
I got you. I got you.
Even things on the luxury scale. So what do you say when something is the best? You say that's the Rolls Royce of XYZ.
Yeah,
Rolls-Royce
you
is
can say
British.
that. Rolls Royce British.
Barber, Aston Martin, Jaguar,
Oh,
the Spitfire. All of these luxury inventions come from England because that's what we do. We create the best. We do the best. We pioneer things. We are always at the leading edge of things. That is what British people do. We engineer everything to the top standard. because we are intellectually superior as a human civilization down past 1,000 years. No one has even come close to what the Brits
Oh,
have
okay.
achieved. Therefore, that's something you need to be proud of, and it's part of our culture. Okay, that's that. Right. I now have a list of 20 to 30.
Brits are the intellectually superior country. Okay. Throughout human history, you guys have come up with a ton. I'll give you that. All the inventions that he's talking about are absolutely crucial to humanity. So uh, I'll never talk down on British culture because I do appreciate all these inventions and innovations that you guys have had throughout the history of the world. So respect.
Or so famous Brits. This list is obviously hundreds of thousands of people long, but I've cut it down to the top 30 that I think, in my opinion, are famous Brits from our culture that have positively impacted the world 20 billion times over. Right? Let's get straight into it. So, Churchill, Chamberlain, Thatcher, Rowntree, Darwin, Columbus, Cook, Cromwell, Rhodes, Fawkes, Newton, Shakespeare, Fleming, Nelson, Chaplin, Turing, Carroll, Lewis, Rowling, Dickens, Berners-Lee, Haig, Orwell, Wiggins, Ennis Hill, Hoy, Murray, Wilkinson, Rooney, Beckham, Powell, Ramsay, Osborne, Hamilton, the Beatles, Oasis, Ainsley, Froome, Faldo, Cook, Dahl, Branson, Dyson, and Sugar. All of those people that I've just listed are just part of what just they just shaped British and English culture
I
at that
got
time,
you.
and we are
I
so
got you.
incredibly proud to have those people in our past that pioneered the modern day world that we are seeing today. Like I said earlier, we are having a dip. Okay, there's no denying that. England
Yeah.
is not leading the world right now in what it could be and what it has been, but it can do because all of those people that I've just listed and all of the things that I've just listed that Brits invented flows within our veins and our blood as native people to this population. It is in us. It is in us
It is
to
in us.
create these things and do these amazing things. And therefore, just because we've been culturally suppressed and morally suppressed for the last few years does not mean that we are a bad people. It does not mean that we have no future and no prospects. Okay? There are so many amazing things to be proud of as Brits and such an
I
amazing
agree with
potential
that.
future that we can have. We just need to make sure that we relight this ember that's slowly dying in us, but we need to
Yeah.
relight it and put some gasoline on it and get it going on the burners again.
There you
Because
go.
we
That's
are
it.
more than capable of creating amazing, amazing things by
For
the
sure.
people and the inventions that I have just listed. Okay?
Big time. You hear that? Right. We said we may have dipped, but we can get back to where we once were. We got that blood running in our veins of all the great Brits who came before us. So it's time to get back to what Britain was.
I'm going to talk a few more things about cultural things, I suppose, that us Brits have invented or pioneered, as opposed to literal things, but just more things to add to your answer of what culture do British people have. So
Got you.
let's keep going. We have things such as our tea, like I say, the English breakfast tea, English.
Yeah.
Our formality. In fact, when people think of England, if they've never been before, they think of suits and bow ties and monocles and top hats and our elegance and our mannerisms and our politeness and our charm. That's what we have as Brits. We're charming people, and therefore we need to
You are
push that as
charming.
something that we are meant to be proud of.
Respect.
Like I say, the suits that we wear. Like look at Savile Row. It pioneers the cutting edge in elite tailoring. That is something to be proud of culturally. That has come from us Brits and us Englishmen. Our queuing, our orderliness, our politeness, the fact we care for each other, we have empathy, we create brilliant communities and villages and towns. That's what we do. We are brilliant in
Respect.
that sense as polite, courteous, charming human beings. That's
I
what we
love
Brits
that.
do and what we have to be proud of as part of our culture. Our chivalry as well. Brits are known for being chivalrous. They're known for
Agreed.
being good human beings.
Agreed.
Now, let's move on to the fun yet controversial stuff.
Uh-oh.
Brits have obviously had a very, very successful past in global conquest. Now,
Yes.
I'm not going to shy away from the fact that some bad eggs did some bad things.
Of course.
Given. I'm not here to talk about that.
He said,
If you
I'm
can't
not here
acknowledge
to
those things, then get off this video, you're thick. We have done some bad things, no doubt.
get out this video. You're thick. No, I feel like to reach the point that Britain reached, I believe it was the biggest empire in the history of the world. You're gonna have to do some dark things to have the biggest empire in the history of the world. So while yeah, Britain has a dark past, they like he said they have had a lot of things that's been very beneficial to the world.
But the amount of good things we have done, the amount of bad things we have done, as a whole, as a species of Brits, we outweighed 20 billion to 1. Okay?
Okay, I got you. I
Brits have
got you.
done proportionately many, many, many better things for the world than they have bad. And we need
Okay,
to appreciate that as Brits and a part of our culture.
respect, respect.
Because if you think about it, a tiny, tiny island in the North Atlantic controlled 25% of the Earth's landmass.
That's insane.
Can you just imagine being in 1776
Mm-mm.
and going, right, you know what I fancy doing on this random Wednesday afternoon? Yeah, I fancy taking over America and then going and doing it in a wooden bloody boat. Like,
In
what?
'76.
Only the Brits could do that. Only the Brits
Oh,
with our bloody silly optimism could go, you know what I fancy doing? Yeah, you know that like, land down under that's like completely inhabitable? Yeah, let's go and make it into one of the most prosperous nations on earth.
yeah. I was like, I guess me taking over America because like people came over from I guess Europe and the UK into America and then decided in 17 you know what, we don't want to be under British law anymore. We won't be under. So I guess it was, I mean, the Brits that took over America, but then became Americans and didn't want to associate being British anymore, in a sense. And yeah, I mean, Australia definitely is an
Only
amazing
Brits could
place.
do that. Only Brits could do that. If you look at what the Portuguese have done to Brazil, it's got incredibly bad wealth disparities and extreme poverty. If you look at what the Spanish have done to places such as Mexico, it's like it's one of the worst places, most dangerous places to live. These places, France, Portugal, Spain, had big empires, but they are nowhere near as successful today as what the Brits and the former British colonies, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, India being one of the largest economies in the world, Nigeria being one of the largest economies in Africa, South Africa being one of the most prosperous nations on earth for a tiny population. All of these things that we have done have impacted the world positively and our former colonies positively. Okay? Because if England was so evil and Britain was so evil and had no culture, why does everyone want to move here? If England was so awful and has no culture, then why does everyone complain but never leave? Because it is the best place to be. It is the best. There's no denying that. Yes, our weather might be a tad miserable at times, and yes, we might have a crappy government at the moment, and we have had for the past 25 years. That does not mean it's a bad place to live. You can F off to Dubai for your 0% tax, but there's no culture out there. It's all synthetic crap. It's rubbish, and I don't want that. Britain has got such an
I like
amazing
this guy. I like this guy.
that has been added to and been boiling for the past 2,000 years.
I would say I definitely wouldn't say that everybody wants to move to the UK, although I like he said, I do agree. It's a great place to live. Of course it's got its problems. Every place on earth is gonna have its problems. From what I've seen from a lot of bloggers, it is a great place to live. Wouldn't say everybody wants to move there. I wouldn't go that far. But I mean a lot of the colonies that Britain ruled over are prosperous now. I would for sure agree with that. So I mean, he may be onto something. I love him. I love this guy because he's so like it's almost like a cockiness about being British, and I can respect that.
It's something we need to be proud of as Anglo-Saxon Brits, Englishmen. Okay, we need to love our culture. We need to appreciate it. Yeah, like I said, India was India's now one of the largest economies in the world. Nigeria is the largest GDP in Africa. Rhodesia was one of the most successful African nations the continent's ever seen.
He sounds
And
a
until
lot
the Africans
like
bloody took it back.
he sounds a lot like James Acaster. His
It's now
voice.
a dump. Like, does that not prove that the Brits are culturally superior to that of native South Africans? Because what we controlled was one of the best nations in the world. Now what they control is a shithole, to be quite frank. Given what's going on there at the moment, it's even worse. So does that not prove what I'm trying to say here? When we arrived in Australia, the Aboriginals hadn't invented running water, and we just sailed 10,000 miles in a
Had
wooden boat.
invented running water.
Only culturally superior people could do that. When we arrived in America, the
Yeah.
native Indians were still doing child sacrifices, and we
Oh
gave
my
them
days.
the best nation in the Western Hemisphere over the last 100 years.
Yeah.
Like, do these things not prove how the British culture that's been formed over the past 1 to 2,000 years has positively affected the world?
Yeah.
Have we had negative effects on the countries we've been to?
Yeah.
Maybe some, but have they been proportionally worse than all the good things we've given? Absolutely not. Brits have had brilliant and amazingly positive cultural impacts on the world, and it needs to be appreciated. And the idea now that David Lammy is talking about reparations, and for us to pay something like 18.2 trillion to the Caribbean islands,
God
are you
dang.
joking me? Leo Kearse the Scottish comedian, political commentator, made a brilliant video on this. So go and watch that. I'm not going to speak it any better than he did.
Yeah.
So go and watch that about reparations. But the world owes Brits reparations.
The world owes
For
Brits
the world,
reparations.
we'll never be able to pay back monetarily. We just can't put a number on the positive things.
I've done a lot of incredible things.
Culturally, religiously, spiritually, mentally, regarding education, safety, whatever.
I feel you.
You can't put a number on it. And therefore, we need to be paid back in gratitude, in trade deals, in respect.
In respect.
Our nation. What we have done for the world is culturally superior to anything else that's come before it and anything that has been happening today. Okay? That's how you need to answer the question of, well, what culture do Brits have? The Brits have had the greatest culture to humankind. There is not a single other culture on this planet that has ever or will ever supersede what the Brits have built over the last millennia or two. It is culturally superior to everything that's ever gone before it. We're the greatest, most elite set of people this world's ever seen. And the entire planet should be eternally grateful for what England and Britain have given to the world. We've left a stamp on this earth that will never be able to be repaid in any reparations to us. And therefore some bloody respect on our land and our culture is what is needed. So, people, ladies and gents of Great Britain, I hope that this video gives you now the confidence to answer the question, what culture do the Brits have? Because if this video cannot convince you that the Brits have had the most culturally superior nation and people the world's ever seen, then I don't think very much else will.
I feel you.
If you're a doubter to this, then please comment. I will try and reply to everything I possibly can do. But Brits, be proud of what we have achieved as a humankind. Okay? Let's get this ember that's slowly dying out, put some gasoline on it, and get us going full steam ahead.
There you go.
The future of Britain. Thank you very much. I'll see you all in the next video.
Much respect to my guy. Much respect to it. I absolutely loved watching that because, again, it was like a cockiness that he had. He said, put some respect on the British culture, put some respect on their name for the contributions that they have made to the world. I would love to hear from you guys what y'all thought about that video. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, check out the next one. I'll see y'all next time.